How you going, Dave? You all right?
Yeah, morning. How you doing?
Yeah, good, lovely morning here in South Wales. What about you?
Bit grey,
Bit great.
bit wet.
What have you been up to then?
So just been to Canada teaching.
Ah,
Um, yeah, fun. Well, it was a bit stressful because Dan was meant to go, wasn't he? But Nerdy ate something, so he like literally the day before had to have emergency op. Literally the day before had to have emergency op, so he couldn't make it. So we had. I'm just still great fun, and I think we had a really cool seminar. But yeah, all a little bit stressful at the end.
how's
But I love going to
Nerd doing
teach
now?
for. Oh, he's loads better. Yeah, he's getting better.
Good.
He doesn't like to eat things. He's a bit of an idiot. He's a
Yes.
Labrador. He is part Labrador, I'm sure of it. But I like teaching for Kale. She's great fun and a load of really cool students over there. So it was a good trip.
Any spiders? I know you love a
No
spider.
spiders in Australia. It's too cold. I mean, not Canada. Canada. I wasn't in Australia. I was in Canada. No spiders there. It was just lots of cold. It was very wet actually. It wasn't even very snowy. It was warm for them, but it is lovely indoor heated arena, all AstroTurf with the little rubber fibers. It's like the best surface to run on. So it was good fun.
Does look very fancy. And they had a fancier podcast studio than us, didn't they?
They did have a fancy podcast studio. I was like, you've got the cool side, but I've obviously just got a room, so it's not really as fancy when you're all sitting in there. And they've got all the headphones and the big mics. They do it all.
That's,
Really
they're
professional
like
stuff.
they are arch nemesis, but we won't tell them.
They are, and I did do a podcast with them, no, so I did cheat on you. Sorry,
Ah! Oh, I'm hurt.
I did
I'm
too,
hurt.
actually. I know. I hate to break it to you in front of everyone, but I did cheat on you.
Well, I always knew you were a slag, so that's no problem.
Yeah, the rumor has spread.
So today then we're going to be talking about coachability. And I think it's probably one of the most important aspects to someone getting better. What do you think of when we talk about coachability? What are we talking about?
So how easy people are to teach, I
Yeah,
suppose. Is
that's
that
kind of how I would see it because from my side of things, which is the more fitness side, different to dog training, but ultimately we're talking about a similar thing. And for me, you could have an amazing dog, you could be fairly
Yeah.
fit as a handler, but if you aren't easy to coach, it makes progression way harder, doesn't it?
Oh my God, yeah, way harder. And it's a big thing, and I think some people are easy to teach, some people are not so easy to teach, but it's a big part of it is personality, isn't it? Do you get on with the person you are trying to learn from? And I think if you don't, then even if they're the best person in the world, there's no point going because you've got to be able to have a bit of banter and a bit of fun, and you've got to enjoy it. It's all about having fun, isn't it? If you're not enjoying it, then stop doing it.
Yeah, like I would say that some people, it's that sliding scale thing again, isn't it? Some people come to training because they just want the social, they just want a bit of fun, and that's fine. Some people
Yeah,
want to come to training and they just want to progress. They don't really
yeah.
care about the fun; they're just looking to get better. And then most people are somewhere in between that. But I agree. And again, from a human point of view, like the training, it needs to have some enjoyment. Otherwise, they're not going to come again, are they?
Of course, you've got to enjoy what you're doing. And that's something I think I do a lot. I have a lot of fun when I teach. Especially over in Canada, they obviously they don't have me very often, so they're not used to it. They find me hilarious. It's
So you
the
love
best thing
it.
ever. I know they love it. They think I'm the funniest guy in the world. But obviously not so much over here. Maybe it's English humor they just find funny. We're a bit dry, a bit sarky. But yeah, it is, I laugh and when I'm teaching over there, I laugh so much. Like I'm literally my sides are hurting. I find it hilarious. But obviously they find my humor funny. But that's important. There's no point getting someone over or training with someone you just don't find funny or don't enjoy. And just, and I have trained people in the past where there's been tension because I actually just don't really like them. I don't train them. But you don't like the people, you can love the dog, but you don't like the person, and I try and I can get on with most people. I'm pretty easygoing with stuff like that. But some people, what it's like in life, some people just don't get on with. But as trainers, to be a full-time agility trainer, you do have to be quite open-minded and quite, laid back with people like that. You can't. We've got to get on with a lot of people. Luckily, I generally do.
Yeah, essentially it's a service industry, isn't it? So you've got to
Yeah.
be able to kind of adjust as and when.
Except the customer is very rarely right in my experience,
Well,
because
this
I'm
is
always
kind
right.
of what we're going to go on to today. But first, what about yourself? Are you coachable?
Actually, I would say well, it depends who's coaching me. That's what I'll say. When my friends try and shout something in, I lose the plot and go mad at them. Like, fuck off, I know what I'm doing. But if I actually go, and we all do it to each other to an extent. We don't, we have to be very careful when we're all training together not to shout in at the wrong spot. We all have a little snappy sometimes. But on the whole, if someone says something good and I think is really a good point, I will listen for hours. I will really take it in. But if I think, well, of course I fucking tried that already, a stupid thing to say, then I'll just get irritated. But if I actually go to a seminar with like a foreign person, or even just a seminar, take my dogs on with one of my friends. If I'm actually going as a student, I think I'm very good. I'll always listen. I'll take it in. I might not always agree with it, but I will always try to do what they're saying.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to say is who would you go to for coaching? Unless, like, I'm not, I know that maybe there's more than one, but someone who, let's do one international then and one domestic. So if there's someone who's coming over who don't live in Britain, who's the one person who you're like, yeah, I'm definitely going to make the effort to get to that session?
They're all different people for different reasons.
You can name a few.
I I like training with Max because I think he sets Max Sprints because I think he sets really cool courses. I love training with Lisa because I just think she's really funny, and I love training with her, and I just get on with her really great. I think I love training with Teresa because I think she's really picky with certain things my dogs are doing or not doing, and tells me off and tells me to go away and work on it. And Danny Fishback as well. I love training with Danny. She's really up for the dog's welfare, and doesn't let you have too long goes, and is really careful with that kind of stuff. So they're people I will always try and train with, but I will train with others too if I respect them and what they've done. Always give it a go. There's some I wouldn't train with, again, which I won't bring up. But yeah, there's definitely some I feel like haven't thought enough about dog welfare and make you go from one all the time and just exhaust the dogs, and just haven't really got on with them because I think they're just talking bullshit, to be honest. But there's that's my opinion of it. Some people love those people. It's very much, again, it's personalities, and I haven't hated anyone I've trained with, to be honest. But there's some I just wouldn't go back to. In England, I would go to a seminar, a workshop with all my friends. So Martin, Nara, Sean, Dan, Shannon. They're the ones I think they're the best trainers in the country, and me, of course.
Yeah, you can't be taught by yourself. You've been taught by
I
yourself
know.
for the last 20 years.
I've always thought I wish I could duplicate myself and give myself a lesson, because that's what I want. I want someone to reward when I reward, where I reward, and tell me what to do without having to think of it myself. I just want, two of me. Dan might not agree, but two of me I think would be amazing.
Yeah, you'd be fuming.
Oh my God, one of me can hardly cope with. Don't do.
What type of students do you see the most growth in? And can you, so for me, I can almost immediately tell when someone's going to be someone I can coach compared to someone who it does not matter how hard I try, they're just not going to get it. Can you tell immediately? And
Instantly. As soon as I see them do their first run, as soon as they talk to me, I just think I know, well, I'm not going to be overly rude on this, but sometimes before you even see them actually do agility, that you're just not going to be able to teach this person anything. Sometimes I'm wrong and I actually start training and I think, oh, actually, I really enjoy training you. But other times I'm being very right and think, oh God, your hard work. But quite often what's going on in here isn't what's going on here, because you have to keep a pace. And I will always, my thing is I always try, and I want to help people. Like I really, really do want people to improve. That's why I teach, because I love teaching. So even if I don't particularly like someone, I will always try and help them. The only time I will literally switch off is if they've been rude to me, which I will usually tell them they've been rude, or if they've been mean to their dog. That's the only times I switch off. Otherwise, even if I don't particularly like them, I will always try and help people, because I always want people to improve. And like I said, there's very few people I actually dislike. They have to be pretty bad for me to not like teaching them, because I just like teaching dogs and teaching people.
so different ways that I've noticed when and again I'll go back to like the fitness side of things, but it would always carry over to the dog training anyway. But there are some people who cannot take verbal instructions and then physically do what you're verbally telling them. They need they need almost, do you know what I mean? Hands-on kind of go
Oh
here,
yeah.
turn here.
Oh
It
yeah.
does not
Sometimes you've
matter
got to
how much you
grab them.
talk to them. Yeah,
No.
they just don't get it. And that's one aspect of coaching, is the ability to take a technical cue and be able to do it rather than have to be kind of physically manhandled to do it.
Yeah, some people can't. I remember teaching Brenda once. This was, I trained her a few years, so she knew the difference between a bloody catch and a front cross. I said, do a catch catch, do a front cross. I said, Brenda, do a catch catch, do a front cross. I said, right, last, do a catch this time. She did a front cross. I get out, get out. I said, get out. I cannot cope with you right now. Get out until you figure out what a catch is, because I'm not doing it. It was all, it was hilarious because she just couldn't. She knew what a bloody catch is, but she just couldn't get it right that time. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Sometimes people don't. Some people you can just say, catch the front cross, do this, do that, and they got it. Some people have to walk out there and actually show them the body language for it. This is why I try and name turns as well, because it's super important. If I say do this, do that, I want people to know exactly what they've got to do. Whereas people quite often name a turn on their verbal cue. So they'll call a catch go check check, or they'll call a backside a zip zip. And so I say do a backside. They're like, oh, do a zip zip. Well, might be a zip zip for you. It's not a zip zip for me. So do a backside. That kind of shit drives me mad. Like, if everyone just named the turns what they're called, and everyone has a generally pretty much an idea what because me and all my friends will all name every turn pretty much the same. Then it's much easier if you name them like that rather than name them on your verbal cue. So try and do that. Not to overtake me.
Another one would be like retention of information. The one that drives me insane. Okay, I don't teach agility much. I just do a couple of hours for our local club. But the one thing that kills me is when you've told someone something week in, week out for literally years, and then all of a sudden a guest trainer will come down and they tell them the same thing that you've been telling them for years, and they act like they've just been read a new verse from the Bible. It's kind of like, I've told you that for years, but now someone else is telling you it. It's all of a sudden this incredible thing that you've never heard before, and that kills me. Absolutely kills me, because it not only makes you think, well, all this time that I've been saying that was a waste of time. It also makes me look like a moron because the trainer thinks that I hadn't told them.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Well, first of all, how you say years is hilarious. You're very Welsh today. Very, very Welsh today. Years. I can't even do it, but everyone else will hear it.
Your Welsh accent's quite good. Go on, give.
No, I can't. Well, I can't remember what I said the other day. No, you put me under pressure. I can't do it. Something about Boyo or something. You thought it was Barry James walking in.
I did. I thought Barry was coming. What did you say? You said
I can't remember.
No, I can't remember
I'll
what it was either, but it was quite good. I've got to give you.
I'll be practicing it all week. But yeah, that happens a lot. People. It was hilarious actually. I talk about my Canada trip again because I liked it. But I was talking to everyone about Fred Alarms, and Kale was at the back somewhere. Still generally her students, and she literally storms over. I told you all this. She was livid at them all. So they're all acting like, oh, how exciting to tell us what arms to use. And she's like, I fucking tell you this every week. So yeah, we do. It was. They were looking at me like I was like God telling them about these arms like they've never heard it, and it was the most amazing thing in the world. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm really getting going on this training. And she was like, walking over like, you fucking idiot. So yeah, that was pretty funny. And it does happen. When someone comes over, I tend to try not to watch because I get irritated if they tell them something that I've been telling them for a long time. But you can just change one word sometimes and it'll make people go, oh, that's what you mean. So it is trying to explain it differently to different people. And that's where I think I've got a lot. I've been teaching for a long time now. I think I've got a way of explaining it. I can always change how I explain something. So I think I can adapt quite well for other people. I think new trainers, people haven't been teaching so long, maybe can't adapt so well. So it's just learning. It's just experience, isn't it, on how to explain things to people.
And then the other thing, which I think would still come under coachability personally, is, in the lesson that they are with you, they can learn how to be a better trainer. But essentially, to train the dog something, they need to go away and do the homework, right? So how important is it that they actually do that?
Oh my God, it drives me mad if they come back and still can't do it. I think, well, what the fuck did I tell you for last time? So, yeah, it's, people don't listen. When I do a seminar or workshop, whatever we want to call it, people probably take about 10% away of what I've actually told them. They can't remember it all. People aren't there writing their notes. They're not, videoing every word I say. That's why I tell people to do the online training. So you can get so much more information, and you can keep repeating. You can play the videos again and again and again. It's so much better than spending the same amount of price on a one-to-one, because you're not because I won't give you the same information, but because you won't retain it all the same. People don't. So I do give people homework. When people don't do their homework and come back the same, I say, well, you're never going to get better. You've got to go away and practice. We're not. I say this, especially on the skills camps or workshops. I say we're not going to teach your dogs much today. We're not going to fix things. I'm giving you the tools to go away and teach your dogs these things. Of course, we're going to teach them a little bit, and we're going to teach you a little bit, but you have to go away and practice. And hopefully, people do go away and practice the things we've done. Some people go away and do just completely different stuff, and it's kind of pointless. But it is super important. It's not magic. It's hard work. You do have to actually put the work in to make the dogs better.
And then you'll get the people as well who you're telling them something and they're listening, but they're not really listening. They just want to tell you their side of things. Do you know? And it's like they are pretending to listen, but they're not ultimately listening because they've already got a reason why. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And straight men are probably the hardest to teach. Am
I in that category? Am I in that category?
You're not too bad, actually. You're pretty good, but and you do it sometimes. Straight men, like, as you're talking to them, they're walking off to go and do it again. I'm like, I'm fucking talking to you. Stay the hell still. Listen to. I know you might think you've got it, but I want to finish what I'm saying. You're not
you
bad.
Have the last word.
You might have done it a couple of times. Things I know you well enough. I would say stay the fuck still and just listen a minute. But you promise you pick up things, and people do pick up things quite quick. So they're like, oh yeah, I've got it, I'm going. But they're walking off almost as you're trying to tell them something, as if they're going to do it. And I'm like, no, I'm still talking. That's when my fucking bossiness comes in. Let me finish what I'm saying. And yeah, to other people, you can tell they're just blank. There's nothing there. I'm talking to them, just all people. This isn't just straight men. They're just blanking and they're just not thinking. And I say, are you listening? Like, what have I just said? And they don't have a clue. I'm like that. Oh, what's the point?
What do you tell me off for this week?
Oh, your ridiculous cues for your bloody threadle.
Oh yeah, that was right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I thought, what the hell is he doing?
So the other thing as well is if you go to a training session, everyone will have their way of doing something, right? But it is also important that if you're making the effort to go to a training session, to actually take into account and have a go at what you're being asked to do. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, just have a go. Like, this doesn't happen very much these days, but I'm quite picky with who I teach. But it has happened a lot in the past, whereas people, I say something, they're like, no, that's not how I do it. I'm like, well, why are you here? Because I'm not here. You're not here just to show me what you can do and to show off. You're here to maybe get a bit better. And I do probably have more experience than a lot of people because I've been doing agility a long time. So I probably do understand that what you're doing maybe isn't quite right. But I always let them show me what they're doing. And if I think it can be better, or if I think it's not going to work in the long run, I will always say, you need to change that. Like, and they might not. It's not, if it's my regulars, I force them to change because they have to do what I do, because otherwise I get livid. But if it's a one-off, I'm like that, well, this is what I would do, but I'm not going to force it because I'm not going to see you every week to keep up with it. So if it's working, it's working, but I think you'll have fallout from it. So, I think it annoys me if people don't. I think it's the whole thing of respect, isn't it? If people don't respect me enough to listen, I think, I've proven myself a lot with a lot of dogs, a lot of people I've trained. I've been doing it a long time. Just listen. Like, I do have quite a good idea of what I'm talking about. And it does irritate me if people don't want to, someone said recently, I said I would use a different arm for that. Oh yeah, I know about that, but I'm not going to do it. Instantly it put my back up. I thought,
how dare you?
Maybe I might know more than you. It wasn't you this time, it was someone else.
Oh, well, in all fairness, though, I feel like I did have a valid point with what I was saying, but no. I listened to you ultimately, didn't I?
You did. Yeah, it wasn't right. You weren't right. I know. I'm going to say it. You weren't right. You're wrong with it.
Hey, happy to admit it, but
you admitted it, and you changed. Hopefully, you're going to change.
Well, I haven't yet, but I will. I'm a big enough man to know when I'm wrong.
I did enjoy telling you were wrong on that one. I thought,
I could see. I could see the glee in your face, and I knew I'd have to change, otherwise I wouldn't be invited back to another session.
That's exactly what it is. He's out. He hasn't done what I've told him. Out he goes.
What then? How could you give someone advice on being more coachable? Because obviously there's going to be a lot of people who want to get better. So is there something that you could say that will, help them be more coachable?
A big thing is sticking to trainers. And I talked this in that one I cheated you on that podcast I did with Kale. We talked about trainer hopping, and I think that's a big thing. Like, try and stick to people who are pretty similar, because otherwise it's so confusing for them. And then I understand why. Because if they're going to someone else really good, so say, me and Martin do very slight differences with our thread arms. It's very slight. It's not a big thing, but it did confuse people on our camp we did recently a little bit, because he was telling them one thing, I'll tell another. So next time we do a camp together, we won't both train threadles, because it's just too confusing if people do that. So if you're here, and he's very good, he's done very well, he's respected, he's doing fantastic with his dogs. So it's hard, because I'm saying one thing, he's someone who's really good saying another thing. Who are they going to listen to? Obviously they should listen to me, but they don't know that. They don't know that I'm always right. They might think I might know what I'm talking about, but they don't know. They don't realize yet. So it's very important to go to people that are training very as similar to you as possible. So, and always try, even if they're a little bit different, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, go back to what you're doing before. So, but stick to the people. It makes it harder when they come to me and they go, "Oh, I just trained with so and so from this country," and they might be great, but it's completely different to what I do. I say it's just going to have fallout from it. If you did completely their system, it might work, but you can't do a bit of this, a bit of this, a bit of that. You've got to stick to a way that works. And also, I think I'm quite good at reading the dog and the handler in front of me, and I can adapt to that, whereas a lot of trainers can't. It's one way or the highway. Whereas I will actually adapt to the person. People that are 10 miles behind, don't matter what bloody arm you're using, you've got to use a verbal. So you've got to be able to, you've got to be able to adapt to the person and the dog you're teaching as well.
I would guess, similarly to myself, the questions that you get when you are training are usually you'll have heard them before, right? Are there any questions that you've heard and you thought that is actually a really good question, and I wish more people asked it?
Definitely the questions on when to reward, which we're probably going to talk about in another podcast. Well, I actually can't think of a question. I don't know. There's so many good questions at a time. Sometimes what annoys me more is the ridiculous questions. And I think I'm bloody that one. But it's good questions. Rewarding questions are great. Just asking which arm to use where is obviously good. It's important. But I think sometimes some people overthink what to say, their verbal cues in their arms. Sometimes people ask me at shows and stuff, oh, what arm should I use there? Which is the right arm to use there? I think, well, there is a right arm, but when you're at competition, just do what works, man. Like, just use every bloody arm. Don't overthink it so much. I have one student that always asks me, is this a tight turn or a loose turn? I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, if you stand still and say the two different cues, they're probably going to land the same spot anyway. But they're almost like, which angle are they turning? It doesn't really matter. Like, sometimes if you get the odd cue wrong, it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to hurt. Try and be as good as you can. But if you get the odd one wrong, don't over panic about it. I'm sure I say the odd one wrong sometimes. It maybe should be a different one if you're looking at the exact angle of the turn. But it is a little bit. It's a lot on body as well. It's not just about verbal cues. So try and be a bit clever with, it's the two paired together, which will really help. I know I went a bit off topic there. I can't really think of the good questions.
No, I think what you said does make sense, though. And then, like I said, it's all about trying to get the most out of a training session, essentially. Even, again, so what are the strategies that you use to try to get the most out of a session? Do you just turn up and do stuff? Do you plan it? Is there anything else that you think worth noting for people?
Definitely don't plan. I'm not a planner at all. People always ask me for course maps. Like, no, they're all in here. I hate drawing course maps. And no, I don't plan. I like to see what the level is, because people can say I've got a 6-7 group. And, most of them, I would say, let's go the other way. People would say they've got a 3-4 group, and they get there and they're all really good. They can do great stuff. So the course would be too easy. So I like to set something up, average hard, average level. And then, it's probably quite hard for a lot of people. And then see what they do on it and then go from there. And then see if we need to do different options, make it angles harder, blah, blah, blah. So I don't like to plan. I like to get there and set up. What was the rest of your question?
kind of
Actually got it.
it is a vague question, to be honest, but I'm just thinking, is there anything that you could tell people that would
Oh yeah.
instantly make them get more from their training?
I think as well, I've got to be very positive with people. Like I think I'm very good at getting the best out of the people and the dogs when I go somewhere, because I think I'm complimentary. I'm quite positive towards them. I don't just tell them they're crap all the time, unless they're the regulars, then I'll tell them they're crap. But if it's new people, I'm pretty good at making them feel good about what they're doing. So I don't like them to finish on a negative. I always want them to finish on a positive. This was some of the feedback I got from Canada. People like that. I always finish on, I'm desperate for them to finish on a good note, to be happy with what they've done. I'll make it easier for some people. I'll make it harder for others. I want, some people are happy to fail. You can make it super hard for them. And if they're going to get some fails, it's great because they're going to go away and work on it. Other people, all they want to do is to get it right on the day. So in that case, you might change the angle a bit. You might stand in the right spot to get it right. I might just make them do just a couple of jumps. I think I'm very good at reading the dogs and knowing how much they can cope with them as well themselves. I'm really bigging myself up in this podcast. Jeez, I'm amazing. I'm an absolutely amazing trainer. But I think it's important to make people feel like they've got something. Some people want a lot more, others want less. I think you've got to read that on each person.
Again, for you then, it is kind of coming down to the experience that you've got. So like you're able to kind of base it on what you see. A lot of people perhaps who don't have that experience aren't going to be able to do it on the fly. And it will take a bit more methodical thought, I suppose.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. People that plan and stuff, that's great. Some people need to go in with a plan. Even people that are really experienced need to go in with a plan. It's just not something I don't particularly like doing it. So it's nothing's wrong to do it. And there's lots of people that have less experience than me that are great trainers. I'm not dissing them at all. But I think obviously the more experience you have, the better, because you see more dogs and more partnerships and you can answer more questions. That's all.
So it's that time of the week again, the Agility Net question of the week.
What is it this time?
It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a big question, and it's the one that everyone wants answering. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yes. Is that the question?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the question. Are you ready? Someone just posted, are you ready? Agility question of the week. So, what is the best thing to use to peg a jump down when it's windy? Hang on now, think about it. Don't jump to an answer. Think about it. This is a big question. People need to know.
When it's windy at home, what I do is cancel. Because I'm not picking all those bloody jumps up, and I don't have anything to hold the bloody wings down. So see you guys. See you later. But if it was windy and I'd already started training and then it got windy, I don't have an answer, because I've seen all sorts of things and nothing really bloody works. I've seen socks. I've seen little mini sandbags. I've seen socks full of sand, not just socks. Obviously, that wouldn't work. Socks full of sand. I've seen people. Pegs. I suppose pegs is the best one. But then if they hit the jump and the wing doesn't fall, I feel like, is that good? Like maybe it should fall. So I think the best option is to just cancel training.
Well, we've seen it as well on some courses where there are people tasked to hold the jump up until the dog goes past. That can't be safe.
Yeah, it drives me mad. The wind is one of the worst things to try and train in. So you can't do dog walks. The seesaw's blowing all over the place. It's scary. It's scary, and everything's falling over. And they just get around to a good bit, and the jump blows over. It drives me up the wall. So let's just cancel or just do tunnels. Okay. And tunnels and weaves. That's all you can do.
Do a tunneling class. That'd be fine.
Fine. I love a tunnel class.
Right, that's us for another week. So as always, say goodbye, David.
Bye.
See you later.